Okay, you guys. So the end, I didn't get to say goodbye. So this is kind of a part two. I feel like this part two is going to be more in depth for some of you that are kind of struggling a little bit, because I was actually surprised that they did that. Because it was almost like I could have easily like read them really quickly for you, or at the end there, but I got this, like, it was almost like they were like holding my tongue. I couldn't speak. So I'm going to go through each one. Okay, so beloved, prepare for your life partner. So for some of you, you're either single or you're in a relationship where I feel like this wants to come forward. Okay. So for some of you, you are either single or you're in a relationship that isn't really healthy for you, and you know it's not healthy for you, but you think this is it. You think this is the best it's going to get. You're like, you know what? I'm comfortable here. Like, this is good. And they're like, oh my, no, my love, my beloved. They're like, there is somebody out there that will love you, that will like love your silliness, love your quirkiness, love all of these things about you that like maybe to somebody that you're too much. You've maybe heard me speak about this before, where Elise Myers, I found this, or spirit brought into my orbit this really beautiful piece from Elise Myers where she's like, I'm not too much, find less. And I just thought that was just so profound and so beautiful. So if you're with somebody that it's like they don't want to do the same things you want to do, they're not, it's one thing like, obviously you don't need to be tethered to every single solitary person. You know what I mean? Like that, it's like in your relationship, right? Like you don't need to be tethered every moment to that person. You have things and outside influences and interests that aren't with the same person. However, there must be a balance there too. If you are only like my first marriage, people thought that my first marriage was like a marriage made in heaven. I literally would hear from people, "Oh my gosh, you guys have the best relationship, blah 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 blah." When we broke up, people like cried. Like our friends and family were like, "I don't get it. Like you guys seem like you're so awesome." I'm like, "No, it's because we're great friends. We were great friends, and as long as we were agreeable with each other, yeah, of course we had a wonderful relationship." But then we realized like the other one wasn't giving what the other one needed. And we had to finally like just stare it in the face and say, because I would joke and say we were the most unmarried couple I'd ever met, because most of the joy that we found together was outside of each other. However, we both loved like having people over. And so like we would have these parties where our friends would, come over, and to everybody on the outside, we look like the best hosts, and like we're having this great time. And they're like, "Oh, you guys are so great," and give each other little smoochies or hugs or like cute little things, like at the party, accolades for each other. But at the end of the day, there wasn't really much there in substance. There wasn't a real strong foundation. There was a great friendship, started out as a friendship, but that's all it was. Okay. So for some of you, it's like you will find that person, but it's not going to be with this person you're with. And like, it. And like I said in the other video, you're going to get to a point where you're going to be like, you're right. Like, no, this isn't working. And so the second one is romance is returning to your relationship. So for some of you, and I feel like this, I definitely feel this for myself, romance is going to return to your relationship. In fact, I saw something recently that said for Geminis, which I feel like I meant to like push this forward for any Geminis, or if you have some Gemini in your moon, your sun, your ascending, or you are a Gemini, that they're saying that love is returning to your life. And they were saying for some of you, it's going to be as if you've always been at odds with this person, but you love each other, and you're just when you're about to give up, there's going to be this breakthrough. And it could be the Lionsgate portal energy, and that's why they spoke about it, for me to hear that right before this reading, is that I feel like for some of you, it's gonna be like one of you is going to say something and you're going to have a breakthrough moment. And it's going to be like, oh my gosh, and the love's going to return, and the romance is going to return, and everything, you're going to start seeing things from a different light, both of you. And I'm hearing for some of you, counseling would really, really greatly help your relationship, so that if you really love this person and you're like, no, Lula, I really, really love this person, I really, really want to make it work. Like, how can we make it work? Then go into counseling. And if they're not willing to go into it, then at least go into it for yourself. And then, try and bring them in. And if it's just not working, then you'll know. And then maybe you fall into that first category of prepare for your life partner. you're going to, and the romance isn't going to return to your relationship. Maybe the romance is going to return to your love relationship for self. Maybe you're going to start looking at yourself and saying, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough, right? Because there's one thing where it's like, there's this great line in When Doves Cry from Prince, where he's like, maybe you're just like my father, or maybe you're just like my mother. She's never satisfied. And I remember a partner said that to me once after they had met my mother and spent a lot of time with my mom. We had gotten in a fight about something. He's like, oh my God, you're just like your mother. He's like, you're never fucking happy. You will never be happy. Nothing will ever make you happy. You will never be satisfied. And that really struck a chord with me. And it was that moment forward is then when I knew I had to start changing my life, because I was like, I don't want to be like that. I love my mom, but I recognized that that was the truth. And what I realized was the reason why my mom was never happy is because she wasn't living the life she actually wanted to live. She was living the life that she felt like she should live, or the life that that she had built for herself, and she didn't have enough courage to change it. And so that could be the case for you, okay? And then the last one is believe you are lovable, right? RuPaul always says, if you don't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anybody else? How are you going to love somebody? How are you going to have any of these relationships? I feel like Spirit's saying, beloved, listen, how are you going to have any strength for yourself and be with other people? Like, how can you, give me the word, Spirit. How can you provide a loving environment for yourself or anyone else if you're not loving yourself? And if you're not loving yourself, most likely it's because you're not doing what makes you happy. And you're not loving yourself because it's almost like you're punishing yourself for loving yourself. But you're not loving yourself because you're punishing yourself. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? You know what I mean? It's like I'm like trying to figure how I can say it in another way. I'm going to see if Spirit wants me to pull any more cards. And I want to see if the energy cards want to come back out too. Oh my gosh. Okay, more unicorns. Let's see if any more unicorns. I'm going to see if any more unicorns. Okay, this from the first one, the Innocence card. Also, for some of you, maybe the relationship is feeling really strained and stressed. And now I'm feeling like this goes beyond romantic love now that this card came back out. So like before in the first video, we spoke about relationships with your children, your work, your family, your friends, whatever. So if you're not taking enough time to play, if you're not nurturing your inner child, if you're not living with the childlike wonder, if you're not saying, I believe in magic and miracles, if you're not, because that's what they're saying. That's what the whole point of that is. But that's the whole Lionsgate portal is saying. Like, if you're surrounded around shitty energy, you're going to be surrounded by shitty energy. If you're an empath, you're going to pick it up. Last night, Alder Knight had this moment where I'm like, you're like this beautiful, joyful being, but when you're really tired, you kind of put off this very like standoffish, like this wall, and it's this energy, and it pervades the entire room to the point that I feel like I can't breathe. I feel very suffocated. And I said, example, I said, look at today, because we have one of our fellow light workers is staying with us, and I said, okay, look at Zoe. I go, you could see in her face, you can see in her whole posture that she was exhausted. And she literally said, I'm so exhausted, I can't think right now. And she left. I'm like, you're tired and you're exhausted. But instead you're like, what? What? I'm like, you don't have to be that way. And it's like, does everybody have to be as loving and whatever as Zoe? No, but it does help. And I love having their energy around, because it reminds me to stay in my light. It reminds me to stay in my vibration of joy, and that even if I'm tired, you can still be joyful. And you're going to have moments where you're angry, but you don't want to be spiteful. Why bring someone else into your down energy? And that's what I said to him. I was like, why do I have to suffer with you? I mean, I love you, but go shake it off outside, tap it out, go shake it out, cry it out, whatever you need to do. But I'm like, why is that going into my orbit, right? Because he's the man holding my heart and my money. Right now, I mean, this last year, my money well really ran dry, and I was like getting very angry with spirit. I'm like, what is happening? And then I realized that our tribe, you know, because for a while I always had a steady income from you guys, whether I was doing one-on-one readings or I was just doing readings and you guys send me, you know, a nice little, you know, hey, thanks Lula, that was a, you know, great reading, that really helped, the last 5 readings helped me, here's $20. You know, I've had some of you send me hundreds of dollars, you know, you're like, here, I have it, you know, blah blah blah. But we're all going through things. And that's when I started to realize, like, Alder started to make like a lot more money than he's ever made since we've been together. And I was like, well, that's okay, because I'm going through my thing and you guys are going through your stuff. I'm still going to do this, because that's not, it's like, it comes back to me. My goodness, it comes back to me. But there was a time where I said to him, I don't feel like I have any power. I go, stop taking my power away. And because he started to have more power of the money, and he was having more power over my heart, I was like, it's not about being narcissistic or selfish or these titles that we give ourselves or each other. It's about that we're not meant to take each other's power. We're here to uplift and help each other. And we're not allowed to just take our shitty energy out on each other. It's not allowed anymore. You know, it's just not allowed. We have to work it out on our own. We're going to have moments that are going to be unpleasant sometimes, but that doesn't mean that we, you know, just like put that crappy energy out, you know, on everybody. So anyway, I hope those little extended messages help. I'll put a link below, you know, or I guess at this point you've seen this one, but in the original video, I'll put a link to this one. So anyway, I love you guys so much. Thank you for the love and support. And if you can, if it's in your wheelhouse, if you can, my old shaman used to say when I would try to give her money, can you afford this? Can you, you know, if you can, there are ways to contribute to our process, because we have a lot to do. So it's in the about section. I'll see you next time. Love you so much. Ooh, I got 6 seconds. Blessed be. Aho and blessed Lionsgate portal. Stay in the high vibration.